All right, students. So in the 11:30 daily quiz, we're faced with a discussion on the advantages of parallel versus plunge. Right? So in other words, in which case does parallel have the advantage and in which case does plunge? All right, let's look at what we have here in the form of statements 1 to 5. For statement 1, we're saying parallel is safer than plunge. True. With risks calculated, parallel has smaller upfront costs than plunge. All right, to truly understand that, let's jump actually to statement 3. What statement 3 is saying is that parallel has smaller upfront costs than plunge. It's a simpler version of statement 2. Now, we know that parallel actually has larger upfront implementation costs than plunge, because what we're doing in the case of parallel is to run both systems side by side. And what we're doing is comparing the outputs and the totals and the results of both systems side by side on a daily basis when we use parallel implementation. And so therefore, because we're doing double the work, it costs more upfront than if we were to do it plunge, where we simply stop using one system on December 31st and start using the new system on January 1st. So parallel actually has larger upfront implementation costs than plunge. So in other words, statement 3 is not true. But with risks calculated, we're saying that parallel has smaller costs, and here's why. Plunge is very likely to fail, right? And so, I mean, it's not going to fail all the time, but because there's a percentage of, possibility of failure, it means that the catastrophic failure that may happen multiplied by even a small percentage of it actually happening sort of turns out to be a fairly big cost. So in other words, let's say that plunge may fail 10% of the time. And in those 10% of the times, it's going to cost us $10 million. It therefore means that the overall cost of plunge is $1 million. 10% times 10 million, $1 million, right? In other words, the average cost is going to be $1 million. All right. So 1 is true, 2 is true, 3 is false. Plunge does make sense if there is no reliable system in place. Meaning, if you just have nothing to work with anyway, then you may as well start using something that's better than nothing. All right, so let's go with 1, 2, and 4 are true. And finally, we can see that parallel would be preferable in the healthcare industry because for the simple fact that in the healthcare industry, the risks are just way too large. And so even a small probability of failure is unacceptable. All right. All right. So we're working with 1, 2, 4, and 5 as statements that are true. Okay. In response A, we see that 3 is included. And we know 3 is not true. So therefore that eliminates response A. With response B, we're saying 2, 3, 5, not 1. We know that parallel is safer than plunge. And so therefore anything that says not 1 cannot be true. 3 and 5 only has the same flaw as the previous response by excluding 1, and so it's therefore also not correct, right? 4 and 5. Well, we did say 4 is true. It makes sense if there is no reliable system in place. And 5 is also true. Parallel is preferred in the healthcare industry. Let's put response D in our back pocket for now. 3, 4, 5, not 2, right? We did say we like statement 2. We did say we don't like statement 3. And so we can also eliminate response E. And so we're going to choose response D.